let's move to the one of what if there's one thing that you'd like to share as we look forward now. The uncertainty is still a little bit there. I'm actually thinking about holidays. I think someone mentioned about can we book holidays? So we booked a cruise. We booked a cruise probably January of just before COVID 2020, and we're having to keep postponing this cruise and postponing it. And now we have to either use it or lose it. So we're going on May the 5th. Not the smartest decision you'd say, but it's kind of like we're just going to make the most of it and go away because you do have to go on holiday. So I was thinking as we look forward now, what's one thing that you'd like to share with everyone of what you're going to do for your mental fitness for the rest of the year?
I think the trip, the vacation thing is a big thing. I am not good at like planning time off in advance. I do it like in a very reactive way. Oftentimes it's like, oh man, like I'm tired. I want to go somewhere. Can I do something in 2 weeks? Which doesn't always work. Like we have, very much like changing demands from our internal partners and external partners. And so we have to have a little bit of forethought when we're planning those vacations. So like I have a trip coming up at the end of March with my sisters and my cousins. We're going to go take a girls' beach trip, and I cannot wait. Like, I'm so excited. I do a clothes like rental service, and I've already started like a list of the things I'm going to rent for that trip. Like, it's just like so fun to have something to like look forward to. And so I think like as I plan that trip, I'm like already starting to think about summer of like, okay, what's that next thing going to be? Because there's so much just excitement and that anticipation and the planning, and it gets a little stressful like right before the trip, right, when you're like, oh my gosh, how am I going to get all these things done? But it's worth it. It's worth it in the end. And so that's the thing that I'm like looking forward to most. Like that's just this quarter. There's so like this year has started off really rough, but I'm going to take the perspective that it can only go up from here, right?
I love that.
We probably aren't going to get COVID for another 2 months if we get it again. So like, let's like enjoy these next 2 months. And so I'm going to take a really optimistic, maybe it's like overly optimistic, but I'm going to take a really optimistic approach as I think about the rest of 2020. It's going to be good. Two's a good number. Two's my favorite number. So, I'm excited about this.
Agree with that. I was going to actually add, we've always been the book a holiday at the last minute. And then just before we went to the UK, my wife, she's obviously started with a Better Up coach, and she was working with a coach, and she came back to me and said, I need a holiday to be able to do this. And this came up from my coaching session. So we went to Montego Bay, and we had such an amazing time. First time away without my son. So when she came back, we started a new job. And then she's like, I have to book a holiday. I have to have something to look forward to. Otherwise, I'm not going to get through. So that's how we booked the cruise. And now we're going into that thing where we just book it. And then when we get to it, we'll work out how we're going to do it. But it does actually help you get through the month. So it's a new thing we started doing. Sorry, Kyle, I jumped in there.
No, jump in. I'm so itchy to travel as well. I think we haven't figured out exactly what yet, but we are trying to also plan something. And it's hard when you're like, do we memory make with the kids? Do we go have us time? How do we fit in me time and you time? So, I do think there's something to having that excitement. When I was thinking about this question, I'm a big journaler. And so continuing to come back to my journal, I've found more recently the things I want to tell my girls, like, you can do hard things. Or even like cheesy Daniel Tiger, like, when you're so mad that you could roar, take a deep breath and count to 4, right? Like, I need to hear that. Like, mama needs that almost more than the baby needs that. And so it's just reminding me of some of like our research, right? Of like, sometimes it's easier to give the advice to be the support than to like practice it yourself. And so I've been trying to incorporate more of my good lessons that I want to instill in my babies, like to myself and journaling. And I saw this one graphic that I really loved that was like this little stick figure, and it's like how it feels right now. And it's like carrying this just like massive ball that's just like too big, right? And then it's like how it'll probably feel a month from now. And it's like a very like packaged, reasonably sized ball. And then it's like how it'll feel a year from now. And it's like a little like mark on this little figure's heart. And that was just like hit home, because like these things are going to stay with us. And in some ways, like I don't want to minimize trauma, but like some of it feels like trauma and like people are grieving. Also, when you're in it, it's really hard to keep in mind that it's temporary.
Yeah.
And
So-
the weight usually gets lifted at some point. And so trying to do more of that, like, okay, today's a hard day. Is this hardness going to last for all week? The kids are home for multiple days. Like, let's hunker down. What do I need? Versus like, I don't need to cope. I just need to get through today. Because like tomorrow when I wake up will be a reset. And so journaling helps me process some of those pieces.
I love that, Kyla. It's something that I actually put into place the beginning of this year, like before everything kind of even happened with our family this year, but was just spending some time in the morning and I in scripture. And so just spending time in the morning in the scripture with my coffee, and just like creating that quiet space just to reflect, to prepare for the day. Like I actually think that how the outcome of like just all of the things that we went through at the beginning of the year could have been like way worse if I hadn't had that quiet time. And so I'm glad that I put that practice in place. And there's probably a reason why I like put that practice in place like at the beginning of the year. And I'm so thankful that I did it, because it's so important just like for that space just to like quiet all the things in your mind. And it sounds like you do that through journaling. I do it with waking up with coffee, but also just reading as well. And it's just been, I don't know, it's like any day that I'm like, oh, I don't feel like getting out of bed and doing this. Like I've done it. What is it? We're probably like 55 days into the year, right? If it's February 25th, like I've done it for 50 plus days. And it's just been like so important for me just to have that quiet space.
You know, I've told you this. I envy your morning person energy. It's like, I think a good reminder as we're talking to is like, find what works for you. Like,
Yep.
I am not centered or doing anything a minute earlier in the morning than I need to.
You gotta meet yourself where you
That's
are.
not my time. So I guess too, right? Like comparison is hard.
Right.
Like take and absorb what feels good, and if it doesn't feel good, like let it go and try something else.
I've been I kind of made myself a morning person because I kind of found it was the best time to get so much done.
Yeah.
My wife keeps saying, "Oh, you're a morning person." But I was like, I don't think I was born that way. It just kind of developed, and that's the best time. And this morning I woke up to start doing some journaling. And at first I was like, I don't really have anything to write. And then once I started writing, it's like, couldn't stop writing. And the big thing that came to me was the inner work that we do, or the inner work day. And I was starting to start looking forward to those, to start using them and really like getting the most out of them. Because it's so easy if you don't think about it, or you don't plan it, you're not intentional, you just end up start doing chores. And just before I started a Better Up, I remember Ashley said to me, like, I was trying to like, I was so eager, what can I do? She's like, just take yourself for a walk and go and just do whatever you want to do. And I went to a beach near the house and I just spent the whole day at the beach, calling friends I hadn't spoken to. And that day I can't tell you how much it filled my tank. So I think this year I'm definitely going to try and bring that on board.
I also have to caveat, I am not a morning person. I have to spend time in the morning so people like me later in the day.
I love that. I when people say, "Oh, you're a morning person," I'm like, no. If I don't spend this time in the morning, you're not going to like me for the rest
You
of
both have
Exactly.
fooled me. Oh my goodness.
Well, it's because you don't see me first thing in the morning.
I have some time zone working in my favor that
Yes. I have to smooth out the edges in the morning. Coffee does a lot of that for me.
Oh, this has been so great. Thank you so much, guys, for giving your time on a Friday. And as I said, I just love when we start having conversations, that what comes from it. So this has been amazing.
Thank you all.
Thank you, guys. Bye.